Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. So it is Cypher Sigma here. It's a weekend, and yes, this is a movie I saw over a week ago now from when this video was released. But this is the new James Gunn movie of Superman. So the movie is a little bit over 2 hours long. It has two after credit or a mid credit and an after credit scene. And I really did enjoy this movie. And people who do not know, it's a little bit hard. This is essentially the introduction to the new DCU, or whatever you want, the DC universe that will be spawned from James Gunn's mind. This movie is essentially I would imagine like a stopgap. So Superman, or Kal-El, who's already come to Earth, he's already been found by Mara Park Kent, he's already been raised up, he's left Smallville, he's gone to work at the Daily Planet, and that is his job. He is announced as Superman. He's already doing his jobs for a few years as Superman, and essentially James Gunn throws you in to the world, and essentially it's kind of him versus Lex Luthor, and kind of them explaining the kind of universe that's going on, because this is the first movie to open up this new world. We have the Justice Gang, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific. Obviously we meet Lois Lane, Perry White and stuff. You have Lex Luthor and his minions, the mechanic, and the engineer, sorry, and Ultraman, who's kind of a minions that involved. You get to meet Crypto, and just kind of it opens up the world. It's a very different take. I can see very much inspirations from 52 and that, but as I say, I did enjoy it. So we'll put the spoiler warning up and we shall get into it. So yes, so this is the new film. We start off with kind of seeing a beautiful background, and then it is saying like 30 years ago, Krypton exploded, Kal-El came to Earth, and then it's kind of continuations of 3, for whatever reason that is. It's like, 30 years ago, so many years ago, 3 years ago, Superman was announced. 3 months ago, he injected, or 3 weeks ago, he stopped a war. 3 minutes ago, he had a battle with this minion, and like he's beat up. And then essentially it opens up to the scene that we see in the trailer, which is near the end, which is quite clever, that him smashing into the ground, him being very beat up, and obviously him needing help. He whistles, calls Crypto. Crypto drags him back to the Fortress of Solitude. You get to meet the 1 to 4 robots. Obviously 4 then becoming Gary, which I'll explain a little bit later. And this kind of bang, right, we're into the world. They managed to recover a bit of Superman. You also find, while this is happening, the engineer has kind of traced him back. And essentially then Superman recovers himself to a point to then go back and try and face this mechanical kind of robot, which is from this country that has essentially tried to invade this other part of the country that it is. Superman has stepped in, and now they've come to Metropolis to claim revenge, or that's how it's led. When he turns up, you see that this person is actually being controlled by Lex Luthor, and he is kind of a little bit of the mastermind behind it. Basically, they beat up Superman to the point that a human offender steps into his path, and then this person retreats because they've done what they needed to do. And essentially, this is all a ploy to find the Fortress of Solitude, which they do, but they can't access it, or they don't know how to access it. The engineer doesn't realize this. So then this goes away. You have Clark returning to the Daily Planet. You have this you have all these theories that the team are kind of spewing around, and this is what it is. You then have Lex Luthor going off to the government and saying that Superman cannot be trusted. I believe there's stuff that's going on. And it all kind of, it's a strong opening, I feel. But as we go on, it opens up to the universe. Obviously, after this story, you have Lois and Clark intersecting each other. They've been dating for 3 months. Obviously, adds on to the 3 one. She interviews him. He can't kind of take the objection. He's trying to do good, but obviously it's not coming across that way. And her questions are a little bit misleading. They kind of a little bit go their separate ways. In between this, obviously, Lex discovers, the Fortress of Solitude. He returns with all his minions, manages to go into it, and basically ransacks the Fortress of Solitude, takes Crypto and hacks his computers. And there's a message from Kal-El's parents, Superman, and essentially these details that obviously he is there to, or it seems like the message, because half of it is only there, that he is there to just help with the engineer's help. She discovers that actually that's not, he's kind of, the message is kind of conveyed as being conquered. This message is then relayed. Superman, then obviously when he gets to fight another creature, while this is all going on, as they then go into the Fortress of Solitude, this is released online, that Lex Luthor is essentially saying that, look, we found this message, this is what he's in. The Justice Gang turn up, and there's kind of a confrontation between them. And then kind of Superman has this kind of moral dilemma, and then decides to hand himself in to Lex Luthor and that. And the government, I think they're called Planet Watch. This then has Lex revealing that he kind of has these portals to this pocket dimension. And this is where he's keeping a lot of people. Superman is taken here and then with Metamorpho, who can create kryptonite. He's basically coerced into keeping Superman there while they find more evidence and while they question him, so he can then be terminated, is what Lex wants to do. While this go on, Lois reaches out to the Justice Gang, as she knows are in league with Clark Kent or Superman, as is kind of very quickly revealed. And then essentially they hatch this plan, or Mr. Terrific joins them to try and figure out what is going on, as Lois and Mr. Terrific go to find this portal. Luckily, Superman manages to escape. I say, I'll try and go for this pocket, or he tries to escape, and then obviously meets up with Lois and Mr. Terrific, and they get out of his pocket dimension. But unfortunately, his pocket dimension, while they've tried to hack it, has caused a kind of slightly black hole, which is then released on the Earth. As this is going on, this is to lure Superman in. Superman is then confronted with the country who he stepped in. There is now a war that is going to happen, and they are calling for him. But then there is also Lex has got this massive rift. He goes to Metropolis because obviously that is kind of his go-to. He fights Ultraman. Ultraman is revealed to be a clone. If you're a fan of the comics, you kind of would have seen this coming. He defeats Ultraman, manages to save the day while the Justice Gang step into the war in the third country. And then you realise Lex has been behind it all due to a set of selfies that have been taken. He's managed to be up throne. And then due to a kind of a Hulk moment, Krypto goes a bit crazy on Lex. And then basically he is hauled off. Superman meets up with Lois, and then they kind of resolve their conflict from the earlier conversation that happened, or the argument after the interview. And then they kind of have a kiss, and it's all well done. And then you have the two after scene credits. One is essentially, just kind of a fun little one, and then one's a little kind of spat with Superman and Mr. Terrific, which was quite funny as well. So what did I think of this movie? I will rate this movie 7.8 out of 10. I actually thoroughly loved it. Now, first off, one of the reasons why I thoroughly loved it, I say I loved the beginning, I loved the end. The middle bit was I found a little bit chippy and choppy. But obviously, James Gunn is trying to open his world, so he's thrown a lot of characters in, so there isn't much development. The only development on Superman and Lois Lane is you kind of, from the start, they kind of mix odds a little bit. It's a new relationship, and then they kind of have the love section hits in. Also, I think Superman has the realization that it's the human side of him, and I think this is what is portrayed by the end, and it is very much a ground point for something further. Unfortunately, we can't have movies like Man of Steel and everything else where it's all about Superman and everything else. We've done the beginning to, not beginning death, but as James Gunn said, like we've seen him leave Krypton 3 or 4 times within the TV series and movies. Do we need it a 5th time? Will anything come of it? Will it just be like 10, 15 minutes of screen time that didn't need to really be there? And I kind of have a sense to agree with him. Yes, new viewers won't get that experience, but it is what it is. And one thing that is very apparent before I go into it, and this is what so when I come to movies, I watch the first trailer, and the first trailer, I try to stay away from it. Obviously, I go to the cinema a lot, and sometimes you will see later trailers. I try and keep away from interviews. I try and keep away from spoilers. I try to keep away as much as I can. Being in the YouTube community, watching other people's videos, being in a lot of groups of DC and Marvel stuff, unfortunately, that doesn't happen. With this, actually, this was a massive benefit. So I really look forward to this movie, and this is something I wanted to. And before going into it, there was like an Ask Reddit version of James Gunn. You'll probably be able to find it online on YouTube, and he's essentially the actor David. Sorry, I've not done people's names and that with this one, but there are like you have the actor who plays obviously Superman, Lois Lane, Jimmy. Is it Jimmy? No, Lex Luthor, obviously Nicholas Hoult. James Gunn. They sit down, they have this box, they open it up, and they ask questions. And this is the really thing that I think did help with this movie, because what it explained is those asked questions are like, will this happen and will that happen? And then like, where is Superman from and how did he get power? Why is Lex Luthor bold? And the exact same thing, James Gunn, and if you people who are not comic fans will not be aware, Superman's been around for like 70, 80 years. He's had multiple introductions. There are a lot of reasons why Lex doesn't have hair, and there have been so many different reiterations of it. You have to understand that people going, oh, well, Christopher Reeve is my Superman and this is what it is. But that is just one version of it. And there are a lot of, there are a lot of stuff that didn't, and that is the first version. You didn't have alternate versions. So you can't say that big, or you did have the TV series. But yeah, I say it was the first theatrical one. And this is it. It's easy to say now, like, oh, I don't really like the new David, but you've had like 6 of a Superman before it. Those 6 Supermen were each in iteration is people's first iterations of Superman. And this is what I think of the fandom, because I've seen very mixed reviews. Some people have liked it, some people like it. I mean, I really liked it. If you're a dog lover, one of the things that really hits home at the beginning and the end is Krypto. They've got the mannerisms and stuff of a dog perfect. How Krypto is actually linked in, and that's something I've left out. You'll see that he is actually not Clark's, he's looking after her, and I think that is very clever. How he jumps over him and stuff, I don't know, people, there's stuff about his scream. It actually makes more sense to me that that they literally go, right, here's the beginning, let's throw his story in, let's have him the realization that he's actually human, and that's his strong part, because they always believe that obviously the red sun and the sun that powers him, that is kind of the thing that is defining of Superman, and that's not, because he could be a good guy, he could be a bad guy, as we've seen in different iterations if you've seen the movie Brightburn. But I really enjoyed it. Obviously, Mr. Terrific was great. I like Guy Gunn. I'm a big fan of Nathan Fillion. Hawkgirl, I'm a little bit on the fence with. Shayera, from what I know and what I've seen and all the iterations, she seems as very big, strong, powerful. This comes across as a very angsty teenage girl. Maybe it is for the kids. I'm a little bit torn on her. Metamorpho, I'm okay as well. It's a slightly different iteration, but I still, it wasn't, I was hating it. And so there's these little bits in the middle, I think, made it wane, but by the end, they cleared everything up. The fact of Superman is more, he is all about peace, saving stuff like squirrels and stuff like this, I think worked so well. Yet, yes, they did take a different point on the animation side. I'm sure some people have quibbled and said this isn't right and stuff. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. As I say, there are a few points. I'm a big fan of Nicholas Hoult. I think he did brilliant as their version of Lex Luthor. It's something he definitely brought something different to it. Even with obviously the mechanical monkeys and stuff, it explained it. They did very well of having this story and how Lex is such a genius, and how he manipulates Superman. I think he's very clever, because everyone could probably laugh and, oh, he's got monkeys and typewriters and they're doing stuff. But what he was doing was undermining Superman's feelings, and Superman's feelings did play a contributing factor in this. And that's, if you want to mock it, and it is in this day and age, there is online stuff and it does affect people. That, there is that aspect to consider and to be understanding of. But yeah, I thoroughly loved it. I do say I've seen negative reviews, I've seen positive reviews, and I say people have to understand there are different circumstances behind stuff, and obviously he's done what he's done to create this world. Now, one comment, and I wanted to address this, and I had this conversation with AJ, and I brought this up, and I know AJ's mentioned it in the movie. So ages and ages ago, we spoke about like the Justice League, and everybody's like, well, they should have given it back to Zack Snyder, and I was like, yeah, but the problem people have, and they don't see this thing, if we got Zack Snyder, if Zack Snyder if his daughter unfortunately didn't pass away during the movie of this, and we got Zack Snyder's Justice League, it wouldn't have been the Justice League 4-hour thing that we got. It would have been something completely different. And I'm pretty sure with how Zack Snyder works, it wouldn't have been received as well. Zack Snyder was basically had a really bad set of events, and I'm not holding this against him, but these traumatic events stepped away. He put a foundation of a movie that Joss Whedon had to finish and was pushed to finish because of bonuses and stuff. That movie was released and then basically slammed. You know, people didn't like this, people didn't like that. So then essentially, Zack Snyder came back to it and was like, here's a movie that someone else has done that you started. This is, you could have a look online. This is everything that everybody did wrong, and this is what everybody wants. He then did it and did a 4 hour movie, and everybody's like, oh, it's amazing. Well, it'd be good if somebody else released your movie first. You got all the feedback from it and then could correct everything and do everything that you kind of wanted to do. This is things that people don't understand. And that's just, I've seen so many comments about Zack Snyder stuff, and I was like, you need to understand that that was the case of Zack Snyder. We only got this good movie because of everything that happened. And I'm saying, I'm not condoning it, you know, I'm very sad, and it is, but it isn't the case. If you know, James Gunn couldn't go, well, I'll release a half-assed movie and I'll get someone else to finish it and then I'll re-release it later. That's not going to happen. But anyway, that is my review of Superman. What did you think of the movie? Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. Otherwise, I've been Screen Time, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.